If you think for 1 second that no animals are harmed in your vegan diet, you are 1000% wrong. Good morning. Morning. Yeah. Come on through, guys. Woo! There you go. Fresh grass. Fresh grass. Come on through. Where's Tam? Good morning, folks. I'm Josh, Stoney Ridge Farmer. Welcome to the farm. It's an absolutely gorgeous day. Today, we're going to talk about ecology. We're going to talk about veganism. We're going to talk about why are you vegan? And I want you guys to share with me if you are vegan or if you're a meat eater. Post it down there in the comments. We're going to talk about what veganism is doing and how you've been brainwashed into thinking that somehow genetically you're an herbivore, and you're not an herbivore, okay? And animals like these cows are what builds topsoil. And if we keep squandering our topsoil and keep with an energy intensive, fertilizer intensive system, we are going to destroy our nation. And if you're vegan, because you don't want to harm animals, you're absolutely wrong. You are harming animals, and you need to know about it. All right, folks, welcome back to the Stoney Ridge Farm. If this is your first time or your 50 millionth time, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Love to have you back here. This is not an attack on your vegan lifestyle or anyone else's lifestyle. This is just explaining a few facts to you about soil and about the land. So my name's Josh. Again, I am a registered nurse of 15 years. I worked in an intensive care unit for 13 years. Now I'm a full-time farmer, and this is my farm. When I bought this farm, we had zero topsoil on the property. Zero topsoil. This farm was intensively farmed and raised tobacco. Tobacco, in case you guys don't know, if you ever drive by a tobacco field, there will be a tobacco plant, and bare, sterile land all around it, okay? So even organic tobacco, there will be bare and sterile land all the way around it. What I have learned over the past few years here on the farm is nothing is a substitute for a grazing ruminant animal as it pertains to building soil life, soil microbes, and soil structure, as well as grass, crops, or anything that you might consume. If you're a vegan, that's your choice. If you're a vegetarian, that's your choice. But I want to explain a few things to you, because if you're doing this for a chivalrous reason, in other words, if you're doing this because I don't want to harm those beautiful little creatures, you need to understand ecology. You need a lesson in ecology. And I'm not here to change your mind about things, but I am here to help open your eyes to the system that you're buying into. And the system that you're buying into is a system of intensive crop raising. It's a system of potentially tillage or no-till. It's a system that doesn't typically utilize ruminant animals, which built the topsoil in the breadbasket of our nation. And other countries such as the UK aren't allowing a lot of the practices that go on here in the US because they know it squanders the topsoil. So if you don't want to be dependent on foreign food and vegetables, then listen. If you want our nation's topsoil to last through your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, then you need to listen and you need to be thinking about this kind of thing. So, as you buy into your vegan lifestyle and you decide that plant protein is all that you need to go look in the mirror at the canine teeth that are in your head. You are undeniably an omnivore and not an herbivore. These are herbivores. They're out there eating grass, processing that grass through a chambered stomach, which helps to ferment and digest the grass. The cow will consume it, they will burp it up, they'll chew on it a little more, they'll swallow it again, they'll burp it up, chew on it a little bit more, and what comes out the backside of that cow is the same thing that comes out the backside of a wild goat, of wild bison that used to roam our country, of every single soil building animal that has ever roamed our soil. So what you got to think about is we've got 10, 15 feet of topsoil in the breadbasket of our nation. Why is that topsoil there and what are we doing with it? Did we not learn anything from the Dust Bowl with tillage? So let's explain this to you. Outside of each one of those animals comes a bit of fertilizer every single day. Sometimes 5, 10, 15 pounds of fertilizer come out of these cows every single day. That fertilizer is carbon-based. In case you don't understand, carbon is the building block of life. Every living thing on this planet is carbon-based, okay? So, soil is carbon-based. Now, we're not talking about carbon emissions that are in the air. We're talking about carbon that's in the soil that helps to heal the land. That's what we're talking about. When you buy into a system that does not utilize ruminant animals, you are buying into a system of intensive farming. You're buying into a system that tills, that fertilizes, and what you're buying into is a system that hauls your food to a factory to make your food. You're also buying into a system that's going to make people sick. So, what is the fertilizer that we're using on conventional row crop? That is a commercial fertilizer, typically a petroleum-based commercial fertilizer, fertilizing a genetically modified plant product. Okay, so a genetically modified plant product. We're talking about something that's made in a lab. If you guys don't understand what a GMO is, you need to understand. I don't care if you're a vegan, I don't care if you're vegetarian, I don't care if you're a meat eater. You need to understand what that is. These cows are on grass. We don't feed grain to our cows. The grain in this country is subsidized. Most of the grain and cotton that's raised in this country is genetically modified, not meaning selectively bred like this breed of Angus cattle, meaning this genetic makeup of this plant is taken into a lab and spliced in with other genes to give it certain properties, such as Roundup Ready corn. Guys, we are genetically modifying our food so that it can be sprayed with poison and fed to our food. And if you don't eat animals, it's still fed to you. When you go in the grocery store, pick up and look at the label, and it has 55 different ingredients, which includes corn in everything. Corn is severely subsidized by your tax dollars, guys. Severely subsidized by your tax dollars. Now, a lot of corn goes for ethanol, for fuel, for cleaner burning fuel. That is a very chivalrous enterprise right there for sure, but you have to think about the money that goes into that, and is that actually helping? Is it actually helping? You need to research it yourself and not just make a judgment call. Think about it. When we take corn that is highly subsidized, it's genetically modified, first of all, so there's a patent on the seed. The seed is put into the soil in an intensive farming method. In other words, ruminant animals didn't roam out there while the corn wasn't growing in the wintertime. They didn't graze. There's not a cover crop out there that they're grazing. There's just tillage and fertilizer. There could be a cover crop that's turned over, but what's that cover crop terminated with? It's sprayed with glyphosate. It's sprayed with a weed killer. So over our land, the system that we're buying into here is we till the land, we plant the seed, we harvest the crop, Then we plant a cover crop on it if we're lucky. Then again in the spring, we fertilize, we lime, we do whatever chemical treatments are needed and necessary to keep that soil viable. Is that a sustainable system? Are you buying into a sustainable system? Let's talk about tofu. Well, okay, so tofu is soybeans, right? Soybeans are grown out in a field, just like this. Are they running ruminant animals back through? Are they giving adequate time for that soil to rest? And odds are they are not giving that soil adequate time to rest. So what I'm preaching to you here is, do not buy GMO. Seek out non-GMO and seek out organic foods, okay? Seek out non-GMO, seek out organic. Seek out grass-fed beef if you decide that you want to eat meat. If you don't want to eat meat, that's fine, but let me talk about the chivalrous reason why you don't want to eat meat, because these innocent animals don't need to be harmed. If you think for 1 second that no animals are harmed in your vegan diet, you are 1,000% wrong. In the intensive farming method, everything on the land has to be destroyed. Everything has to be killed. All of the worms, all of the plants. When we till, we take the sun, we expose the soil to the sun, right? What does the soil do? What do those UV rays do? They destroy the natural, normal flora and bacteria in the soil, which helps build the soil. Soil will build itself if we leave it alone. But if we till it and turn it up, what does that do? It opens up a window of opportunity for weeds to come in. Then what do? We spray those weeds, okay? So we kill the weeds. We kill all the life that's growing and or living out in here. There are rabbits all over this farm, just so you guys know. There are bugs all over this farm. There are grasshoppers all over this farm. There are earthworms all over this farm. But when we spray and destroy the soil ecology, we destroy all of that. And a microbe is just as important as a cow, okay? A microbe is just as important as a cow. A songbird is just as important as a cow. A rabbit is just as important as a cow. All this stuff, guys, you have to think about this. When we've got tens of thousands of acres being used for tillage and we're turning up the land, when we could easily fence that and run ruminant animals and decrease the need for sprays, decrease the need for chemical fertilizers, decrease the need for more diesel fuel being burned, you have to think about that. So what happens is the land is tilled. Let's just start fresh. The land is tilled, the seed is planted. Great big old tractors come out there, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $700,000 machines are out here and they're spreading seed. Okay, so it's planting season. Now we plant. What do we got to do? Plants come up. We got fertilize. Okay, so we bring an intensive system in and we bring tractor trailer loads of fertilizer, right? So we take a tractor and a tractor trailer and we bring in fertilizer. We fertilize this land, which could easily be fertilized by ruminant animals that are roaming the land. I'm talking to you about chivalry and the chivalrous reason why you're not consuming animals, because you want to save animals, right? So we're destroying all the microbes in the soil. We're destroying all the earthworms in the soil. We're destroying all the wildlife, all the ruminant animals, all of the grazing animals on our land, and we're spraying it, and we're putting chemicals on it, and we're burning diesel fuel. So we're burning the diesel fuel out there, and we've got our plants all planted up. Now they've grown up and they're about this high, right? What are we gonna do? We're gonna go over it and we're gonna spray them with an herbicide because a bunch of weeds came up where we tilled up the land, right? Okay, so we open up, it's just like an infection. It's like a wound. You cut your arm, you open it up for infection. You cut the soil, you open it up for infection. Infection meaning weeds. You can't beat Mother Nature. You're not gonna beat Mother Nature, and you're not gonna beat ecology. You're not gonna do it. So we open up the land, the weeds are coming in, so we come in, we spray it, we hit it with some glyphosate or whatever kind of weed killer that it is. I don't want to demonize glyphosate. I want you guys to understand the intensive system that's going on. So we spray this land. This land's never been sprayed, by the way, and it's never had any weed killer on it, and it's never had any issues like this, and it hasn't been fertilized in at least 7 years now, okay? No fertilizer whatsoever, just stuff that comes out those cows' butts. Okay, so we take that intensive system and we've got topsoil, so we squander the topsoil, we till it up, we plant some plants in there, the plants come up, we fertilize it, then we hit it with a spray and herbicide. Then all of a sudden, we've got a monocrop. So we've got 10,000 10,000 acres of soybeans out here. And we've been planting soybeans on this land for the last 45 years. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. All of a sudden, a crop of grasshoppers come in, or worms, or any kind of insect that's going to consume that. So what are we going to do? We're going to spray this land. We got to kill these bugs, right? So in the meantime, we're killing the bugs, we're killing the ecosystem, we're killing the soil, we're killing the worms in the soil, and we're killing you, okay? What we're doing is spraying poison on our food so that it doesn't get consumed by some critter that's supposed to be there. This is not supposed to be 10,000 acres of wheat. It's not supposed to be 10,000 acres of soybeans. It's not supposed to be 10,000 acres of lentils or corn. It's not supposed to be that way, and we're fighting Mother Nature. Okay, I understand. We've got to feed the world. Okay, we've got to feed the world. What are you doing to feed yourself? What are you doing to feed yourself? Let's talk a little bit about what happens here next. So, we bring out a big old harvester out here. It costs $500,000, $600,000. The farmer's buried up to their eyeballs in debt. They can barely make their bills. So they're just leasing this gigantic combine out here. Well, we got tractor trailers coming in the pastures, catching the grain that's harvested and throwing it in a bin, shipping the grain to grain silos, drying the grain, energy, 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 energy. Then, once it's dried, it's packaged up and taken to a factory to be processed. Now, you don't think that that tractor trailer has ever ran over a deer? You don't think that the mice plague the area where they store the grain? You don't think that bugs plague the area where they store the grain? You don't think that that food is sprayed once it's out of the field to keep bugs out of it? You don't think so? I think so. I do think so. So, we ship it to a factory where we burn coal to run the factory, right? So we're burning coal. We're all doing this because it's chivalrous. It's best for the environment, right? We've been duped into watching a few Netflix documentaries, and we've decided that veganism is the way to go. And we feel so much better now that we're eating a plant-based diet, okay? Okay, that's great. You feel better. That's awesome. Does the soil feel better? Does the future of our nation feel better? Are you buying into an energy-intensive system, or are you buying into a system that's regenerative? What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to do? Do you want to save our nation's topsoil, or do you see this as an inanimate object? Do you live in an apartment and you see dirt as something that's a nuisance that's on your shoe? When's the last time you stuck your hand in the soil? When's the last time you planted a garden? So why don't you have a few 5-gallon buckets out on your terrace and have a few tomato plants or some cucumbers or something like that? Why don't you have that? Why? Why can't you grow your own food? Guys, I want to leave you with this fact. There is no such thing as a good ecosystem without a keystone predator and a keystone grazing animal. There is no ecosystem that will continually support itself indefinitely without grazing animals such as these cows right here, guys. There has to be a predator component, and at the moment, the human is the predator. These are domesticated animals, just like the food that you eat in your vegan world. That is a domesticated plant, okay? I say this. I want you to think about the fact that if you're vegan for the wrong reasons and you don't understand soil and you don't understand soil ecology, I want you to start researching soil and what builds soil. If you think that you're vegan because you want to save the world, because you want to save animals, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. If eating a plant-based diet is what you want to do, then go for it. But please seek out non-GMO, sustainably raised plant-based products. Don't buy the stuff that's made in the factory, okay? Because look at the intensiveness of what it takes to make that food, that veggie burger that's made in a factory. You hear this cow? That's a little bull. Guys, I hope this helped you a little bit. I hope that helped you to understand the system that you're buying into. If you live in an apartment, if you live in a small house, there are things that you can do, and you vote with your dollars every single time you buy something. So buy quality, go to the farmer's market, seek out local foods, look for non-GMO foods, look for organic and or sustainably raised food, such as the beef that we raise here on the farm. We also have a garden. We use manure to fertilize our garden. There are no chemical fertilizers utilized in our farming practice here on the Stoney Ridge Farm. If a plant is growing in the soil where it's supposed to grow, if it's a weed, it's a soil problem, not a weed problem. Do you understand? It's a soil ecology problem, not a weed problem. There's bacteria in this soil. When you build the soil, when the soil is right, the right plants will grow. Guys, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about ecology. And if you are a vegan, good for you. I'm happy for you if that's what makes you feel good. But please seek out sustainable systems and understand that there is no soil ecology that's appropriate for raising and or regenerating the land better than a ruminant animal out there grazing. So if you think cows are the evil that's destroying the world, let me tell you something. We don't have gigantic herds of bison roaming our Great Plains anymore. This is what we have. We should be fencing in our cropland and running these animals instead of putting them on feedlots and pumping them full of antibiotics, pumping them full of steroids, pumping them full of medications. We should be feeding our soil with these animals out on pasture, raising them right, raising them the way they should be. Not an energy intensive feedlot where animals are confined to a little bitty spot. And if that's why you have chosen a vegan diet, let me tell you that every farm isn't like that. This farm isn't like that, and you can find these farms, you can find these places. You know your dentist, you know your doctor. Why don't you know your farmer? Guys, thanks a lot for joining me here on the Stoney Ridge Farm. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about your diet choices, veganism, and I wanted to tell you, if you think you're doing it for a chivalrous reason to save animals' lives, you're not saving lives. You're actually destroying lives. You're destroying soil. Think about it. If you don't like meat, that's just fine. That's just fine. But please seek out sustainably raised, non-GMO vegan products. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time on the Stoney Ridge Farm. The cows are happy, I'm happy, and I gotta go work in the garden. All right, take care.
Come on down to the Stoney Ridge, bring your